Hi guys, this is Annette with Annette's Astrology Corner, and I was out exploring yesterday and I found this location and I thought I would bring you here today because I felt like this energy encompassed the way that I feel about this new moon. Now I'm showing you this tree that's literally been ripped out of its secure location, and it looks like it could have been through a very severe storm, and its home is now, although somewhat still unstable, and it's still an uncertain home for this tree's the end life. I feel like it was the conclusion or the cumulative ending for this particular life form here on Earth. And when you are talking about the ending of something on a cumulative level and the beginning of something, this tree could easily help you visualize the way that I see energy right now. So this area, for some reason, is just like the graveyard for where the storm blows everything in. And look at the force that it took to tear this tree out of its secure location and topple it and drag it from God knows where, right? Think about the massive energy and the force of nature that it takes to do something like that. And I'll try to walk over and show you how big this root system is, because it's probably really hard to, like really truly deeply visualize how big these trees are. So when we're talking about this root system, it's ginormous, it's massive, it's as tall as me. And I'll try to give you this is a huge tree. It's a giant maple tree. And I'll show you my location where I'm at. Like, look at the force of this graveyard, right? You can feel the power of nature right here. And you can see my little stink butt, but it just helps you understand just how powerful the forces are outside of your control. Like, you don't have control over this type of energy. This energy has control over you. And that is where we're at with a new moon in Aries conjunct Uranus and Aries. The energy is in control of your destiny. You are not in control of it. You basically, at this point, are being asked to identify what needs to be removed and to pick up all the pieces after your illusion was shattered and destroyed. An area in your life where you were, you had attached a great deal of false sense of security. As a tree, first, let's just, use that example. As a tree, the earth is very secure and it feels like a strong foundation for you. But as you can see, from, I'm going to stand by my dog. As you can see by this demonstration, there is no security. There is no for sure. There is no 100% it's going to pay off, right? Because there are forces outside of your control that have the ability to redefine you at any given moment. So what this moon is asking you to do is, in a state of loss, in a state of vulnerability, in a state where you are not perhaps your strongest version of yourself, asking you to pick up the pieces and to begin again, to start over, to reinvent yourself. Sorry, I had to turn. And that can be really challenging because as you see that the journey for this tree is not over. At some point when the storm happens again or a tide goes out, it can drag this tree wherever it's gonna go. It's not securely fastened in maybe this position. So maybe some of you are still here in your journey, and maybe some of you are here. I mean, the end is apparent, like the journey is done. Doesn't mean that the struggle was any less, or doesn't mean that it was any less traumatic, or that, you know, that, but at least the ending, it is fine. It's a final cumulative energy to a journey, a karmic journey that you've been on for some time. But maybe some of you are still this tree right here, where there is some instability. You can see it on this tree, like it when the waves come in and out, like it moves a little bit. So it's not done for some of you. For many, many, many of you, you're like many of these. No, Francis, absolutely not. Drop it. Sorry. There's a noxious shellfish warning where I'm at, and he was trying to eat a crab, so no eating, no baby. So I just want to talk a little bit about our new moon. And I'm just going to try to back up and try not to be as disruptive with this lens. Hi, baby. I'm going to sit down. Oops. Sorry. Just want to sit down a little bit and relax. We'll talk about this new moon. Sorry about that. I had to reposition myself. So, one of the things that I noticed about this new moon is that it is going to be conjunct Uranus and Aries. So I kind of really felt this spot. Maybe that's why I feel the force of this spot, is because your Uranian energy is a force to be reckoned with. It is unpredictable. It is chaotic. It is a complete redefining energy. And it's conjunct with your new moon. So your sun, sorry, I was looking at my dog. It's conjunct your sun and your moon. So that are aligned, and on the same day, Mercury goes direct. The same day that we have this big new moon, and that'll be in Aries as well. So Uranus is in Aries, Mercury is going direct in Aries, and the sun and the moon are aligned in this new moon energy in Aries. So lots and lots of self-work. And much like this tree out here, I feel like I just really identify with the tree. I feel like you're done with your storm maybe, but your future is uncertain still. Because as we will experience over the next 2 weeks, Pluto will go into retrograde and Saturn will go into retrograde. And both of those energies are in Capricorn. So for me, I feel like we're on a launching off point, right? Where all of this energy is cardinal. And I felt drawn to cardinal energy today when I was feeling this energy. One of the biggest things that I was drawn to is just the fact that we're in that beginning in our that new beginning in our lives. And I know that that is what you would define a new moon as, but I don't always feel that new moons are new beginnings in the sense as much as I do right now. Meaning this is a complete do-over. And this is where I feel like many people can really, if they look back at their lives, look back at it and see that this was the point where they started to redefine themselves and redirect themselves. And because Mercury in Pisces is in the 29th degree, at the time that Mercury goes direct, I feel like intuitively you are getting a very specific message about what you need to do right now. Now, there is a little bit of insecurity associated with that message because you are being asked to do something very brave. You're supposed to summon up all your courage and you're supposed to persevere and move forward. At the same time, you're still feeling maybe a loss or there's some insecurity that has set into you. Based on the fact that the illusion over your life, the veil over your lenses have been removed. And so you are sitting in your current reality, which is very clear to you what your current reality is, what you need to do right now. You know what you need to do. It's whether or not you have the cojones to do it, really. One of the things I felt like is that for some of you, it's to accept the fact that it's okay to move on from your losses and from where you thought everything was supposed to go. Like, it's okay to move on. It's okay to let it go. You need to give yourself permission to be happy again. And the way that you give yourself permission to be happy again is you allow yourself to accept the gifts and opportunities that are being brought into your life and pursue them. And to allow them to help you reinvent yourself. So right now, the planet of luck, Jupiter, is in Scorpio. So there is a lot that is opening up in resources for you, and to utilize those resources to help you get a foot up, right? But you've got to, when you get that intuitive little buzz in your ear, when you get that feeling, sorry, I'm gonna just move my lens a little bit. When you get that little, just that intuitive feeling, that nudge feeling, listen to it and write it down. And I would meditate on it. And then I would try to listen to the messages that come out of that intuitive little buzz, like that little gnawing feeling in your gut, that intuitive feeling that, you just got this message, this little, it's like Jiminy Crickets in your ear or whatever. Because it's happening right now for just about everybody I know. Like, they're getting feelings that they need to be moving forward in a specific area, that they need to change a specific area in their life. And it's out there and it's very real. And just about everybody has this feeling that they're letting go of something if they pursue that intuitive feeling. This is a time where it can be very difficult to understand that as at mercy as you are at the natural forces of this world and of energy and of outer planet energy. There is an inner source of power that you can tap into and you can use to strengthen yourself during this very intense time in your life. And you have the power. You have all the resources at your fingertips to be able to re-identify yourself as not just a victim in your scenario, but as a person that can make the best of your situation, no matter how much in turmoil it is. You also need to, at this time, and I feel like the energy is demanding it of you, to embrace your potential. Staying stuck is just really not an option anymore. As a victim, it's just not an option. It's not possible. I mean, of course, it doesn't mean that some of you are still at the tail end of that karmic journey where you're unwinding your identity from what you previously identified with on an ideal level. So some of you are at that spot still, but some of you are done, and it's clear, and it's just crystal clear right now what you need to do. And for those people, the resources are plentiful and abundant, and this is a time of just clarity. The culmination that comes from energy like this, the cumulative feeling that you can feel, is finally you get to go fulfill some of your selfish wants and desires, because you may not have to think of everybody else anymore. It's a time where you focus on yourself and what you need and what you want. And as selfish as that may be, and as selfish as many people may make you try to feel like you are, it is imperative that you focus on yourself and your healing process, and the fact that it is a time to set goals for yourself and to set up routines to achieve these goals. Like it's clear to anybody who's working in this energy that this is just a time where it's just not even optional, because there's no other way to go. Like you can't stay stuck anymore because you're too aware, too awake, right, about your situation. You can't minimize it. There's no veil. There's no way to hide behind an illusion anymore, because the illusion is gone. Like the secrets are out. Like it's all said and done. And there's just, or the doubt is there, or the in order for you to have illusion, to create hope and magic and illusion, the illusion of something becoming real that isn't real, it has to be a untarnished energy. And right now everything is tainted. It's not bright and shiny anymore. It doesn't have the appeal and the sparkle. So like, say if some of you are getting a chance to do a karmic cycle all over again, and that person is coming into your life from your past and trying to drag your energy back into that karmic cycle, there are a lot of people that aren't going to fall for the sparkly lure in the water anymore, right? They're not going to fall for the old tricks, because it's over, it's done, it's lost, it's ended. You're too awake and too aware to fall for the same set of tricks. Like they don't have any appeal anymore, because now you've identified how it makes you feel to be let down, disappointed, and just, you don't identify with it anymore, I guess. It's not a part of what you see in your future. You see it in your past. And as sad as that is to feel, I'm not saying that it's not a real feeling right now. And as sad as it is to let go of something you once deeply identified with, it was ingrained, it was a part of you. Okay, so this new moon is squaring off with Mars and Capricorn. And I look at the opposite of Capricorn energy when I look at this new moon, because I think of all the cardinal energies involved. We have for some of us, this is roots that we are deeply tied to. When you think about cardinal energy controls the 1st, the 4th, the 7th, and the 10th house. So that is your ascendant, your descendant, your MC and your IC. So that's your family, that's your career goals, that's your relationships, and that's your that's what you put out into the world. That's what you represent. How you represent yourself. So all of those areas are getting redefined, and that's a really hard thing to deal with all at once. So like, to deal with the fact that our relationships that have changed, our desires for our relationships, what we desire from them. And the biggest thing that we desire from them right now is we want what we want. We don't want what they want. We're not wrapping our happiness around what it takes to make somebody else happy. Like, we really need to have our needs and wants met. And so like, our relationships are getting restructured to be a relationship that feeds us as well as utilizes our unique qualities. So like, I'm hoping that because there's so much awareness around just narcissistic relationships, codependent and enabling relationships, because there's so much out there right now that is feeding us the knowledge that we need to identify those specific people that are basically energy vampires, that utilize you as a resource, not as a person, not as a lover, not as a companion, not as a partner, but as a resource. And they deplete your resources and then they leave. And then you're destroyed, like this tree out here in this water. You're depleted. There's nothing left. That's not going to happen anymore. If you take advantage of the energy work right now, and you redefine and restructure your life around a certain set of boundaries, rules that people have to adhere to be in your life. Like, one of the best things about malefic planets is that they really point out all of the ugliest parts of humanity, of people. They point out our fears. They point out the place where we lack, so that we can strive for something better. And that's where we're at right now. We need to strive for something that is more self-fulfilling, not depleting. So the square that we may feel is it could be just sheer impatience. It's really hard right now to have the patience to wait to see what's going to happen. For some of you, there could be controlling bodies that are making your decisions for you right now. So that's those outer planets that have this power to like really create some conflict in your life, some power and control struggles. So like, that's very real right now. Like, this month it could be very much for many of you about that. Just those struggles of like areas in your life where you are identifying where the way that people are controlling you and controlling your choices, it does not fulfill you, does not serve, does not meet your needs. And those are places in your life that's going to make you really angry and really volatile and very combative and just flat done with. And so there are some of you that are going to go through this intense struggle where people are going to see you in a new way. Like, they are not gonna, so like, when the new moon is conjunct Uranus, you can bet that just people are going to just act radically different from who they usually are in a state where they're in a low vibration. That could be very intense to feel, much like the stormy area where I'm at. This just massively this energy that I get from here is just like, it was where nature was angry here, and it was you had to submit to where the storm was taking you, and it took you somewhere. And now that you're settling down from the storm, and now that you understand what you've lost, now it's a time to pick up all the pieces and to rebuild from this point on. Like, yes, you're at the mercy of energy, but you have more power than you think you do. I promise you. This is a time to stop trying to fit in and conform. It's a time where standing out is being asked of you. We're standing up. We're fighting for what you believe in. Is very real and is going to happen for some of you, because you can't help but, like, if there's an area in your life right now that, Francis, come here. Of course you have to go where the one thing is that you can get tangled. No, baby. Come over here, honey. Hi, honey. So if there's an area in your life that you can identify right now that is unstable, and I really believe that this is just a time where it could have a lot to do with the goals that you have been setting in your life, like what you really wanted to attain. And some of these goals you've been working on a really long time, right? And you have been climbing that hill for a very long time. And at some point after you're done climbing a hill, you expect to have some gratification of achieving a goal. But for some of you, the realism, the reality check that you have had is you're climbing a hill that never stops being a hill. And you never get to achieve the goal. The goal is elusive. It's just outside of your reach at all times. And when do you give up? When do you give up on a goal that you have your mind set on and your heart set on and you've deeply identified with over a long period of time? When do you give up? I would say right now is a good time, because what's happening is that you're identifying areas in your life where changes need to be made. But the thing is that now you have the resources to make these changes. The timing is right. And Saturn's all about timing. So in the past, you may have, been in a cycle, may have been in a spot in your life where you didn't have the ability to control. You didn't have the ability to control where life was taking you. Like it just took you where it took you. After these realizations, after this storm. And then after that, what happens is that you can only identify those areas that need to change, and then you can start to create new goals. And there is something inside of you, and you can't deny it. All of you, every one of you, no matter where you are at in the cycle of your identity and crisis, so where you are at in this time in your life where you are, you're asking to make a change in your life to empower yourself, and you're having to really look at the places where you've lost the power to be, where you've lost your potential, and you're asking to identify, like it's a mirror, it's a hardcore mirror to look at. And some of this is just some really deeply psychological areas in your life where they have been programmed in from early childhood. Honestly, I mean, the opposite of Capricorn energy is Cancer energy. So this stuff is like programming that goes way back into our deepest childhood years, like our earliest childhood years. This is like from coming out of the womb on. And there's like that's some pretty intense energy to like process all at once. Like when you talk about the fact that we are kind of dealing with all the four major jump off points in the zodiac. These are the four major energies that ask you to change, to initiate, to first initiate, to identify, to set a goal, to set your goals up. So that's the energy that really asks you to take a look at your goals. And the reason why you've set those goals, were those goals based on other people? Were they goals that you had associated with yourself or identified as what you wanted because it was accumulatively you were a couple or a pair, or you had a partnership or something? No, Francis, absolutely not, honey. No crabs. Kiki. There's a hazardous shellfish warning, and I just don't want him to eat those. Hi, baby. So, were they like, so a lot of us have shed very toxic relationships recently, and some of them many of them have been in our families, our inner circles. And so like, it could have been goals that you guys shared as a couple, you know, buying that house together, buying a vacation home together, you know, moving to a particular spot together. You know, when we retire, you know, this is where we want to spend our end days together. Well, what if there is no more together? How do you start your life again solely based on your wants and needs when everything, maybe for years you've associated it as a couple or as a we or as an us? Like, how do you even start? So that's the challenge of energy like this right now, is those are the, you know, like, maybe it's for some of you, it's how you identify yourself now. It's been a hard reality check, and some of you have heard things about yourself that you don't identify with, but people see you as. That can disrupt the faith that you have in yourself, or the confidence that you feel is that others, how do I say this? It can be very hard to be confident when you see yourself one way and other people see you a different way. And they're identifying you as this particular type of person when you don't see that about yourself at all. I mean, how do you deal with that reality check? How do you decipher the perceptions of others from the way that you perceive yourself? Like, how do you not get caught up in the way that they identify you? You know, how do you define that line for yourself? That's really intense right now, guys. And then, you know, childhood issues are coming up right now. Just that emotional side of things where maybe, you know, this stems back to some of your mothers or some of your fathers, how they identified you, the way you felt that your child, like the ingrained responses to your mother and father and your family dynamics. Like, maybe those are some of the reasons that you're making some of the decisions that you've been making. And because, you know, you're in this time in your life where you've shed a lot of those relationships, you know, with family members, because they were toxic relationships, they were abusive relationships, mentally, physically, or psychologically. It can be difficult to like know who you are anymore, because like who you used to identify yourself was with this particular family unit. Like, this is some intense stuff. I can't think of any time where I felt like the energy goes this deep into your psychology, and where you're being asked to redefine yourself in energy that is so depleting of your sense of self, but at the same time you're asked to be brave, confident, strong, and to persevere and to get determined about what you want in a vulnerable state, right? Like, that's it takes an intense amount of bravery to do that, and that's what you're being asked to do right now. So I'm thankful that the planets have all got to the point to where they're all retrograding, and even though our personal planets are not in retrograde, the outer planets are retrograding, is because we can't deal with a level of depth that those planets bring into our lives. So the planet of luck is not bringing you as many opportunities. There are opportunities, and they're going to be past-based opportunities that you're revisiting. But one of the things that I think are very significant right now about the planet, you know, Jupiter, in Scorpio is it's not about maybe the job opportunity as much as it's going to be about what that job opportunity, how it helps you define yourself, right? So it's not as shallow as I want it, I need it. It dives deep into the depth of your psychology and helps you dig into parts of yourself that really need to be refined and identified and transformed. And then you've got, you know, when you've got Saturn sitting in Capricorn, this is about developing self-control and patience and about waiting for the time to be right. It's not about instantaneous gratification. And it's not about that. You're going to have to be patient, and you're going to have to wait for this energy to evolve in your life. At the same time that we're in Aries energy, which is an instant, impatient energy that is full of just zest and gusto, and there's just this impulsiveness about Aries energy. That's all being pulled back into, you need to have some patience, because this is bigger than you can possibly understand. And at this stage in your life, there are things that are literally, like, there are parts of your identity that are in destruction. It's being destroyed. There's no returning it. There is no way that your identity can be wrapped up in that negative part of your existence, that cumulative part of you, where, I mean, we're at the end of that cycle, and letting go of it, that's a whole different story. That's a deeply psychological process that has everything to do with how good you are at accepting everything as your current reality and letting go of who you used to identify with and realigning yourself with what's coming, what's the future, not the past. The past is done. We did the best we could with the advantages we had at the time, and with the knowledge that we had at the time. We got to let it all go and just stop thinking about it and start to understand that there was a bigger reason for all of the suffering and the pain and the loss and the realizations than you can possibly understand at this level in your life, because you're not through the identification process yet. You know, you're still trying to make sense out of everything that happened to you, and it was big and it was hard. The Pluto-Uranus squares were like fracking intense, and that there's some residual energy still lingering around from all of those forces trying to get you to initiate changes, but you were really confused back then. So now it's time for us to unwind all of that confusion, make sense out of it, look at the reasons why it happened, and apply them to another life experience that basically gave you the wisdom to move forward in a way that allows you to succeed in your goals that you set moving forward. Anyhow, lengthy, long, super intense energy. When I felt it, I was like, oh my gosh, how do I even talk about this? And this spot came to mind, and I had to come here, and now it's just rolling out of me. I'm glad I came here. The energy told me to come here, and I just did. And I feel like this is a really good spot to feel and to be able to communicate out what I'm trying to say. It's so hard because I feel all this stuff, but sometimes I don't know how to effectively communicate to all of you. And I apologize if they sound somewhat rambly, or the messages are really hardcore to feel, and I'm just trying to give them to you in the most vanilla way that I can to make them easy to accept, I guess. Anyhow, I hope you have a wonderful new moon, and I'm just happy to talk to you again. Have a great day.